भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया। भागवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 3, The Birth of Lord Krishna. There are two texts, text 34 and 35. We will chant text 34. Varsha Vata Narayanam Namaskritya Varsha Vata Atapa Hima Varsha Vata Hima Garma Kala Gunan Anu Karma Kala Gunan Anu Sahamano Shvasarodha Sahamano Shvasarodha Vinirduta Manaha Malau Vinirduta Manomalau Varshavata Tapahima Garma Kala Gunan Anu Sahamano Swasha Rodha Vinirduta Manomalau Varshavata Tapahima Garma Kala Gunananu Sahamano Shvasarodha Vinirduta Manomalau. I will read the next text, text 35. शीर्ष्णपर्णानिलाहाराव उपशान्तेन चेतसा मत्त कामान् अभीप्सन्तौ मद आराधनम् ईहतुः. Please with the word meaning. Varsha, the rain. Vata, strong wind. Atapa, strong sunshine. Hima, severe cold. Garma, heat. Kala Gunan Anu, according to seasonal changes. Sahamano, by enduring. Shvasarodha, by practicing yoga, controlling the breath. Vinirdhuta, the dirty things accumulated in the mind were completely washed away. Manahamalao, the mind became clean, free from material contamination. Shirna, rejected, dry. Parna, leaves from the trees. Anila, and air. Aharao, eating. Upashantena, peaceful. Chetasa, with a fully controlled mind. Mattaha, from me. Kaman abhipsanto, desiring to beg some benediction. Mat, my. Aradhanam, worship. Ihatuhu, you both executed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivinoda Arvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. My dear father and mother, you endured rain, wind, strong sun, scorching heat, and severe cold, suffering from all sorts of inconvenience according to different seasons. By practicing pranayama to control the air within the body through yoga, and by eating only air and dry leaves fallen from the trees, you cleansed from your minds all dirty things. In this way, desiring a benediction from me, you worship me with peaceful minds. Please look at the translation. My dear father and mother, you endured rain, wind, strong sun, scorching heat, and severe cold, suffering all sorts of inconvenience according to different seasons. By practicing pranayama to control the air within the body through yoga, and by eating only air and dry leaves fallen from the trees, you cleansed from your minds all dirty things. In this way, desiring a benediction from me, you worship me with peaceful minds. Purport. Vasudeva and Devaki did not obtain the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their son very easily. Nor does the Supreme Godhead accept merely anyone as his father and mother. Here we can see how Vasudeva and Devaki obtained Krishna as their eternal son. In our own lives, we are meant to follow the principles indicated herewith for getting good children. Of course, it is not possible for everyone to get Krishna as his son, but at least one can get very good sons and daughters for the benefit of human society. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that if human beings do not follow the spiritual way of life, there will be an increase of Varna Sankara population begotten like cats and dogs, and the entire world will become like hell. Not practicing Krishna consciousness, but simply encouraging artificial means to check the population will be futile. The population will increase, and it will consist of Varna Sankara, unwanted progeny. It is better to teach people how to beget children, not like hogs and dogs, but in controlled life. Human life is meant not for becoming a hog or dog, but for tapodivyam, transcendental austerity. Everyone should be taught to undergo austerity, tapasya. Although it may not be possible to undergo tapasya like that of Prishni and Sutapa, the Shastra has given an opportunity for a method of tapasya very easy to perform, the Sankirtana movement. One cannot expect to undergo tapasya to get Krishna as one's child. Yet, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Kirtana Deve Krishnasya, one can become so pure that one becomes free from all the contamination of this material world, Mukta Sangaha, and goes back home, back to Godhead, Param Vraje. The Krishna consciousness movement Therefore, is teaching people not to adopt artificial means of happiness, but to take the real path of happiness as prescribed in the Shastra, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, and become perfect in every aspect of material existence. Thus ends the Bhaktivinoda purport and translation to Canto 10, Chapter 3, texts 34 and 35 of Srimad Bhagavatam. ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Here Lord Krishna is speaking to his father and mother, namely Vasudeva and Devaki, as to how they underwent great austerities to obtain the Supreme Lord Himself as their own son. So it was not all easy to get Krishna as their son. They underwent severe austerities, and Krishna Himself is describing to Mother Devaki and Vasudeva how they've endured great austerities even in the previous lives. For 3 times they have obtained the Supreme Lord as their son. So, as Prishni and Sutapa, also they begot the Supreme Lord as their son, as Prishni Garbha. The Lord's name was Prishni Garbha. And second time, the Lord appeared as Vamana Deva, one of the Dashavataras, to Kashyapa Muni and Mother Aditi. And this is the third time the Lord is appearing as Lord Krishna, Swayam, the personality of Godhead, Swayam, to Vasudeva and Devaki. So here the Lord is saying that you have endured rain, wind, strong sun, scorching heat, severe cold, suffering all kinds of inconveniences, and practicing pranayama and eating only dry leaves and breathing just air. In this way, basically keeping themselves away from all acts of sense gratification, they cleanse their minds of all material contamination. And desiring blessings from Krishna, they worship the Lord with peaceful minds. Now, why all these austerities of enduring all these cold, heat? This time we see even in Ashtanga Yoga, it is described that they practice initially asana, pranayama, all these things. Wherein typically a traditional yogi, as per the texts, if you see, he does not practice yoga in city. He goes to the Himalayas or in a secluded place and practices yoga. And just like today morning, we felt quite cold. So some of the devotees were wearing sweaters. Because for us, we're not practicing Ashtanga Yoga, so it's okay for us. But otherwise, in Ashtanga Yoga, typically, he has to endure severe cold, severe heat. Because he has to become free from bodily consciousness. We are all the time absorbed in bodily consciousness, which goes against Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna consciousness fundamental principle is to realize we're a spirit soul, nothing to do with this body. And the whole material civilization, the way we are trained is, I am the body. Therefore, because my conception of life is I am the body, my entire life I spent for my body. bodily maintenance, bodily convenience, bodily pleasures. But the whole Vedic system is, fundamental of Vedic teaching is, you're not this body, you're a spirit soul. Therefore, we deny material conveniences. But people think, why the spiritualists are against bodily conveniences and pleasures after all? We are this body, we are meant to enjoy. No. So the very idea is wrong, misunderstood. Where is spirit soul? That the first teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm a spirit soul, not this body. I have to take care of the comfort of the soul, happiness of the soul, convenience of the soul, which is very different from the convenience of the body, pleasure of the body. And we have materialistic goals because we think we are the body. Similarly, a spiritualist has spiritual goals because his conception in life is, I'm a spirit soul, which is a fact. And our goal is also spiritual because we are spirit soul. And the goal is to go back to God. So the entire human life is meant for achieving this goal. And all the activities which are prescribed in the Vedic literatures guide us towards this goal, support this goal of going back to God, to realize your spiritual identity, to realize your relationship with the Supreme Lord, and to free you from material entanglement, from this material body, which is actually keeping us bound and entangled in this material world, not allowing us to achieve the ultimate goal of the human form of life. The very purpose of we taking birth in this world is defeated by not understanding the spiritual need of our existence. Very purpose is defeated. You can see today in the modern world, all our activities, everything what we do is all centered around this body, which is nowhere connected with the actual mission of human life, which is to realize my actual identity as a spirit soul. Nowhere it is connected. Therefore, it is futile. That's why Rishabhadeva, one of the incarnation of Vishnu, has instructed his sons in this way: Parabhavas tavat abodha jata yavanna jignasata yata atma tattvam yavat kriyas tavat idam manovai karmatmakam yena sharira bandha. Parabhava means defeat. Life is considered to be defeated. Human mission is considered to be defeated so long one does not realize that he is a spirit soul. How do you understand this? Let's take a simple example. Just like your parents send you to school. Now, if you don't pass in this class, the very purpose of going to class or school is defeated. You don't study the subject. Suppose you're in first standard or in fifth standard or in 10th standard in college, whatever. If you're a student and if you don't study and pass the subject, the very purpose of being a student is defeated. Very purpose of going to class is defeated. Similarly, human life is meant to educate. We are meant to educate ourselves about our identity, about the goal of life, purpose of life. That is education. How to free ourselves from material entanglement, from material miseries. Nobody wants birth, death, old age, disease. Nobody wants the three kleshas, Adhyatmik, Adidevik, Adibhautik kleshas. But we are constantly subjected to these difficulties and anxieties and sufferings unnecessarily. How to free ourselves? That is education. And this is what the Vedic education provides for and trains the students, be it a boy or a girl, trains them to achieve the ultimate goal, to conquer death, birth, old age and disease. This is education. But if this is not being met, then what is our achievement? Just like today, objectively, let's think, with all our advancement of knowledge, are we able to conquer death, stop aging? Every moment we are aging and becoming old. By all our advancement of knowledge, accumulation and consolidation of knowledge we have today, Are we able to stop aging? Are we able to avoid disease? Even a simple fever or a simple cold, able to avoid. And surely, one place Prabhupada explains, as you can't avoid death, you can't avoid birth also. It's very interesting logic. As you don't have power to stop death, therefore you don't have power to stop birth also. The artificial means of birth control is not going to work. Material means of birth control will be an utter failure, because that is not the way of birth control. Because you can't control death, you can't control birth also. Birth control takes place if one becomes spiritually advanced and conscious about the importance of the human life and the urgent duties we have in human life. How urgent and important it is. Because when you miss this human life cycle, human life, then you may get into the evolutionary cycle of 84 lakh species. Completing the entire cycle again, before which you can get human body again. Imagine what a big risk. To get this human body, you have to go through lakhs and lakhs of species of life. And then you get the human body. And in this human body, if you miss again the opportunity for liberation, again you get into the cycle. It's very serious. Any moment we can leave this body. But only human body provides for self-realization. Realization of the self, our true identity. And liberating ourselves from these material entanglements, difficulties. Only human life provides this opportunity. In animal species and all these things, there's no possibility of self-realization, nor educating ourselves spiritually. No possibility. Animal species, you can't practice tapasya. You can't teach austerity to animals. Eat in a regulated way, sleep in a regulated way. You can't teach animals like that. They have their own instinct and they go by that. But in human life, you can practice austerity. Why? So that you can channelize and conserve the energies for a serious purpose. The purpose is to get liberation from this material body and to fulfill the mission of human life, which is to go back to Godhead. So entire Vedic civilization is focused on this goal. Therefore, they're not interested in material advancement. But people think they were primitive. They consciously remained primitive materially. They chose to remain primitive materially. Because just producing machinery is nothing great. It is called Shudra Vidya. Don't take wrongly. Shudra Vidya meaning, because this material advancement is simply meant to increase the comforts of the body and thereby aggravate the disease. What is the disease? The body itself is a disease. Possessing a material body itself is a disease from the soul's spiritual perspective. From the spiritual perspective, from the soul's perspective. It's a bad bargain. Because of this body only you have old age. Because of the body only you have disease. Because of the body you have death. Because of the body you have rebirth. All the pains which we are going through is because of this body. The mental anxiety. All because of this body. So it's a bad bargain. How it can be a good bargain? And we are aggravating the situation. If somebody comes to a doctor telling his problem, instead of relieving him from his sickness and problem, you aggravate by giving some medication. Is that really a treatment? What good you have done? Suppose today I have gone to the doctor having fever, say 99 I have got, little more, not too high. But still, to be cautious, I have gone to a doctor. Please give me some tablet. And the doctor gives a tablet, instead of bringing it to normal, if it becomes 100 and day by day 101, 102, what good he has done? Similarly, by the modern system of education and advancement, we are increasing our material consciousness, bodily consciousness. We are increasing our bodily concept of life. More and more, it is becoming pronounced by giving more comforts to this body than reducing comforts for this body. Therefore, it is described in the Vedas. What is Brahminical intelligence and Shudra intelligence? Brahminical and Shudra has nothing to do with body. It is to do with one's state of consciousness. The kind of importance which one gives to what decides whether one is a Brahmana or a Shudra. It can be anyone. Maybe apparently he is taken birth from a Shudra family, but if his goal is Brahminical, his consciousness is Brahminical, he is considered a Brahmana. But somebody may take birth in a Brahmana family, but all his goals are like that of a Shudra. Shudra means basically we are talking about mentality, not the body. Mentality, consciousness, the goal, what he fixes. That decides whether one is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra. What is his goal of life? How does he conduct himself? That decides what Varna you belong to, actually speaking. That's what Krishna said in Bhagavatam. Not by birth division. Brahmana means he is serious about the human mission and he is concerned about the needs of the soul. One who cares for the soul is a Brahmana. Is explained in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In the first verse, purport, Prabhupada explains nicely. Or in one of the verses there. And one who is more concerned about the body is actually a Shudra. So Shudra is not a caste. Anyone who is concerned more about the body is actually a Shudra. It's a technical definition basically. Some of people have made it into a caste kind of division. It's a definition. Just like you study any subject, you study definitions first. So you have to study definitions. It's not a birth division. Shudra means one is more interested in the body, bodily comforts, bodily pain. So one who cries for the loss of body is a Shudra. There's an Upanishad shloka for that. And one who laments for the loss of the soul is a Brahmana. One who laments for the loss of the body is a Shudra. See how it is defined? So because of increasing more bodily conveniences and being more focused on bodily conveniences, we're actually losing the purpose of human life and risking human life. Very soon, we will lose this opportunity. Then we will not be able to get a chance once again to get liberation. Something like one time you fail, at least in the regular educational system, you fail, there's a supplementary. But in life exam, you fail, there is no supplementary. You're gone is you're gone. Human body, you are lost, you are lost. First standard, you have failed. They may give you one more year. You can sit in first standard once again. But human body, it is given to you as a status. If you miss that, you'll not get once again human body. You will glide down to animal species. Finished. Again, millions of lives to come to human birth. So it is quite a serious thing. So these yoga practices basically free us from the dependency on the body. What is yoga? Which frees us from the dependency on this body and makes us dependent on the Supreme Lord. That is yoga, which connects us to the Supreme Lord and which disconnects us from this body. That is yoga. Today, people are practicing yoga more for the body. Yoga is meant for the soul, not for the body. To make you realize you are a spirit soul, not this body. To make you detached from the body, not become attached to the body. That is the purpose of yoga. And to connect you to the Supreme Lord. That is the fundamental idea of yoga. Yoga means that which connects. Connect what to what? The soul to the Supreme Lord. That is yoga. Atma to Paramatma. Atma to the Supreme Lord. That is yoga. But if you become more bodily conscious by practicing yoga, what kind of yoga is that? It is ayoga. That is why here we see Krishna is telling even his parents also that, my dear mother and father, you have practiced severe austerities, enduring all kinds of heat, cold, the different experiences and difficulties the body goes through, and we tolerate. Why? To appreciate that we're not this body. Basically because of attachment with this body, because of identification with this body, we are becoming affected by the experiences we are going through, the material experiences. Actually, body cannot experience because it is dull matter. Body is matter. There's no experience here. Just like wood. Is it experiencing heat and cold? No such thing. Is it expressing, Prabhu, can you put one carpet on me? I'm feeling very cold. Can you put one bed sheet on me? I'm feeling very cold. Nothing like that. But we will put a sweater, we'll cover ourselves with bed sheet while taking rest because we feel cold. But it is the body, right? So therefore, there is a link between the soul and the body through ahankara. Ahankara gives the link of the soul to the body. And through ahankara, we experience heat and cold, which we are presently experiencing. That is why, if we conquer ahankara, which is false ego, and come to the platform of real ego is I am a soul. That is real ego. False ego is I am the body. So come to the spiritual platform, then you become immune to all the material experiences and difficulties and pains and pleasures, both ways. Because both are material, concerned with the body. And I have nothing to do with this body. So they've undergone all these austerities to give birth to the Supreme Lord. See? So, sex life practiced under scriptural direction with austerities meant for purifying one's consciousness to beget a good child is very much approved by the scriptures and by the Supreme Lord. Because the methodology, the system of giving birth in this world for a normal human being is through union, through sexual intercourse. That is the methodology instituted by the Lord in this world. So it is not a degradable act as such, technically speaking. Because this act is meant to bring about a good progeny. Good sons and good daughters in the world, Prabhupada explains. And that is what this Krishna consciousness movement is teaching to the world. Bhagavad Gita is teaching how to produce good children, good daughters, good sons, who will uplift the world. Otherwise, without cleansing one's mind and consciousness, if one indulges in the act of sex and produces children, then they will not be of a divine nature. They'll be of a demoniac nature. Because the state of consciousness at the time of union influences the birth of the child, the character of the child. The thoughts of the mother and father, or the husband and wife, the thoughts of the husband and wife at the time of conception directly influences the child who is going to take birth very soon. Directly influences. That is why there is what is called as Garbhadana Samskara, wherein the husband and wife are taught to keep their consciousness, state of mind in a pure state, without any bad thoughts, any rajasic thoughts, tamasic thoughts, and keep them in a divine state, in a spiritual state. If we don't do that, then you can't expect good progeny. It will be a Varna Sankara population as described in this purport. So Garbhadana Samskara means basically preparing the mentality of the father, because he is going to place the seed in the mother's womb. Prabhupada explains that in one purport. The father is going to place the seed in the husband is going to place the seed in the wife's womb. Therefore, his state of mind is very important. When he's placing that seed, what are the thoughts going on in his mind? It will attract that particular soul. Similarly, the mother also, or the wife, the seed when she is receiving, what is her state when she is receiving the seed from her husband? That also influences the character of the child, the mentality of the child. So once the seed is placed, then no change is possible. It is irrevocable. So therefore, unless this Garbhadana Samskara, which is a methodology, scientific methodology to purify one's state of mind and keep it spiritual, Krishna conscious, unless this samskara is undergone, you can't expect good progeny. So one's mind must be very sober, very devotional to conceive the child. That is why it is called Grihastha Ashrama, interestingly. There are 4 ashramas: Brahmacharya Ashrama, Grihastha Ashrama, Vanaprastha Ashrama, Sannyasa Ashrama. Ashrama means spiritual shelter. Ashrama means spiritual shelter. Generally, people have a misconception. Brahmacharis, sannyasis, they're in ashram. They're meant for spiritual life. Grihastha, they take it as a license for sense gratification. Grihastha Ashrama, it is called. They're also in spiritual, they're also supposed to be practicing spiritual life. Maybe the location may be different. That is immaterial. The Grihastha may be practicing at home. The Brahmachari may be practicing in the mutt. That doesn't make a difference. But the goal and purpose is the same. It is ashrama, Grihastha Ashrama, Brahmachari Ashrama. Both are meant for spiritual life. In other words, all human beings are meant for spiritual life, including Shudras. You're a human being, you have to practice spiritual life. It's a necessity. It's a necessity, basic necessity. Otherwise, what are we doing? Eating and sleeping. That's why Prabhupada says, our life should not be like cats and dogs. Here he says, hog and dog. Animals are also having their bodily needs being met, eating, sleeping, sex life and defense. They're also having their needs being met. If human being also is meeting only these needs, then what is the difference? What is the better activity or engagement we have got other than the animals? What is the higher engagement we have got? Dharmena hina pashubi samana dharma hi eka tasya visheshaha. Dharma or religion is that higher occupation which we have, which differentiates us from an animal life. So whether one is a grihastha or a brahmachari does not matter. One should take shelter of spiritual life. And his goal must be liberation or back to Godhead. If not, then he is misusing his human form of life. Even the varnas, if you see, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, it's a material work division, basically. Again, not a caste division. It's a work division. Caste system, Varna is actually a work division, not a birth division. Segregation of work. Just like we have this Dasara festival coming now. This 12th, we have Dasara in our temple also. We have different departments and different services. We have prasadam distribution service. We have putting up the infrastructure service. Prabhu, I have been asking him, so what service you have been doing before I came to Mysore? He said, Prabhu, all the while I have been doing prasadam distribution. Is it a caste? That is the work segregation we have given him. That devotee is being allocated with. That's all. It's not a caste division. It's not that prasadam is his caste. Or is meant only for prasadam distribution. It's a work segregation. Of course, there could be many criteria. When Krishna talks about work segregation, what you are best at, you do that work. What you're good at, what your nature permits, what you're good at, what you're comfortable at, what comes easily for you, do that work. Because the idea is work. This is material work segregation for the sake of livelihood. But the more important thing is ashrama. Just like the student has to eat, he has to sleep. But you think only eating and sleep is the only business of a child, of a student? The main business is to go to school and study. To support the study, there is eating and sleeping. Similarly, it could be anybody, I'm saying. You are going for work. That is the main business, to take care of the family. So, to support the family, to go to work, you may take the assistance of eating and sleeping and all these things. It's not eating and sleeping is the only business in life. Eating, sleeping, mating, depending, they may be supportive, but that's not the goal of life. Goal of life is spiritual emancipation. So therefore, you see, all these varnas are tagged to the ashrama. They must practice ashrama. They must be under ashrama. Like Brahmana, for example, he has to go through, or rather practice all the ashramas. Brahmana has to practice brahmacharya, then grahastha, then vanaprastha, then sannyasa. He has to go through all the ashramas. Brahmana. 4 ashramas are compulsory for him. Grihastha, 3 ashramas. Sorry, Kshatriya, 3 ashramas. Brahmacharya, grihastha, and up to vanaprastha. For Kshatriya, there is no sannyas. Then grihastha, 2 ashramas. Brahmachari and grihastha ashram, that's all. Shudra, although is considered the lowest, still there is one ashrama for him called grihastha ashrama. That's the only ashrama he can go through. In any case, even Shudra has to accept grihastha ashrama. He cannot just marry like cat. Of course, in animals there is no marriage system. So human being also, even though apparently he is married, but if he does not follow the principles of married life, then it is as good as an animal also uniting with among themselves, male and female. The male and female union is there everywhere. In 84 lakh species it is there. Then what is the difference? A human male and female uniting. Cat and dog is also uniting. Hog is also uniting. So there are principles of married life. There are principles of marriage. If you follow that, that is called ashrama. Otherwise, it is not ashrama. It is grihamedi. Grihamedi is not an ashram. Grihastha is an ashram for spiritual perfection. Because the grihastha's idea is also spiritual advancement. Not simply to live with his wife. Even the wife's goal is also not simply to live with an husband. For fulfilling bodily needs alone. Sex life may be a necessity, but it can be overcome. But in case you feel the need, yes, you are allowed under grihastha ashram regulations. Because you should know, common sense dictates anything you want in life. Nothing is unregulated. Everything is regulated. You want to do business? It is regulated. You have to take license, trade license. Can you say, I want to do business? Apparently, it is not sinful. I am not doing illicit sex. I am not doing drinking liquor or promoting liquor. So I am not doing sin, no. I only want to do a trade. I want to start a mobile shop. No, sir. Even that you have to take a license from the government. Because there must be regulation. There must be regulation. So, everything is to be regulated. Then only there is discipline, and otherwise things will go out of control. Just like today you see, there is no division of spiritual life and material life. All the time material life. No control. Totally undisciplined. 24 hours body only. At least 50-50. 50% time for spiritual life, 50% time for material life. Just like a student. All the time he plays, is it okay? Okay, 1 hour you can play in a day, that's fine. Accepted. But if all the time the student plays, then his very purpose will be lost. He'll be a failure. Similarly, okay, you can have sex life, but under regulations. And even that can be purified if the purpose is as per what the Shastras direct, what Krishna directs. Bring about good population. Therefore, there's a time for union between husband and wife. Not that anytime you feel the urge, you will fulfill it. That is animal propensity. You feel the urge, you let yourself to that urge. That is animal life. Human life means regulation. No, urge might be there. You have to tolerate. Whether it is sex urge or eating urge, just like Prabhupada one place said, suppose in a class, suddenly a student may feel hungry. Will he break and go and eat something? No, he can't do that. We have all gone to school, right? Teacher, I'm feeling hungry. Will anybody get up and go away? He'll not go. He has to attend the class. He has to tolerate the pangs of hunger. Suppose he feels sleepy. In school, we have seen the teachers stand up on the desk. Cannot sleep. The class is going on, right? Cannot sleep. This is regulation. He has to control. So like that. But an animal, for example, it feels sleepy, it will sleep up. Wants to eat, it will eat. So human life can't be that. Similarly, sex life. Whenever the animals want, they'll have sex. Human life cannot be like that. So there is regulation in Grahastha Ashrama. Then you produce Krishna conscious children. So many regulations are there. So the idea is to bring about good progeny to the world. Then ultimately, there is no problem with population actually, because the government is very concerned about population growth. Overpopulation is not a problem. So overpopulation is not a problem. Only bad population is only a problem. Overpopulation is not a problem. God can maintain unlimited population. Jivas anywhere unlimited. Upanishad says, Jivas anywhere unlimited. What are you saying about overpopulation? Jivas are always unlimited only. Where is overpopulation? Nothing overpopulation. But the burden of overpopulation is when the children are demoniac. Like father, if he has many children, he has no problem. He will maintain. But if the sons become bad, daughters become bad, that is a pain for the parent. The last point I will tell you close. It's very interesting um, perspective Prabhupada has given. Why we are experiencing overpopulation in human society today? Which is, from one perspective, it is a fact. There is overpopulation in human society. It's a fact. In Kali Yuga, there is overpopulation in human society. It's a fact because they're not further progressing towards liberation. They're getting stuck there. Just like first standard, second standard, third standard, fourth standard, 10th standard, you keep on progressing, right? Then you are leaving space for the other children, new children who are taking over to go through the classes. Suppose at some point, suppose in 10th standard or 12th standard, let's take say 12th standard. If the students get stuck there, that means nobody is passing. But this 11th standard students are coming to 12th standard. 10th standard students in 2 years are coming to 12th standard. 9th standard students in 3 years are coming to 12th standard. The 12th standard is getting overpopulated there because they're not going to college. They're failing. So like that, from lower species to higher species, there's a gradation. And then human species, after that, there is liberation. But here they're getting stuck. They're not liberating themselves. They still continue the same animal propensities of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They're not progressing towards spiritual life. Therefore, human society is getting overpopulated. That is the reason of overpopulation. So therefore, we have to practice austerity for purification and liberation. Let's stop it in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada.